To me, Mario! The multiple times we had! Mario's your best friend! No, it's me, Super Mario.